Welcome to Section 12 of Immunodeficiencies. In this section, we'll be discussing leukocyte adhesion deficiency type 1. Let's get started. Our story takes place on a street with an alley where some mutant turtles with ninja skills are trying to get out of the sewer in order to save their reporter friend who's being attacked. Now look at the shell of this mutant turtle. The substance that gave these mutant turtles their fighting skills also gave them this peculiar multilobular appearance on their shell. Anyways, these shells represent the polymorphonuclear cells, or PMNs, also called neutrophils. And it's the neutrophils that are the primary issue in leukocyte adhesion deficiency. What happens in this condition is the neutrophils can't adhere appropriately to the wall of the blood vessels, so they stay inside the vasculature instead of exiting the blood to get to the tissues where they're needed. To help you remember that they can't get to the tissues, but get trapped in the blood, we have this mutant turtle trying to get out of the sewer to help the reporter. But one of the bad guys is shoving the turtle back into the sewer. And the sewer is a network of tunnels, much like the vasculature is a network of blood vessels. So the turtle not being able to get out of the sewer represents how neutrophils cannot get out of the bloodstream. As you can see, since these turtles can't get out of the sewer, they're piling up down here. This represents the fact that neutrophil levels will be high in the bloodstream for patients with leukocyte adhesion deficiency. Looking back at the surface, where the turtle is getting shoved back into the sewer, you can see one of the bad guys is mocking the turtle by placing this slice of pizza just out of reach. You may be aware, but mutant turtles really like to eat pizza. But sadly, this turtle won't get any. Anyways, the role of neutrophils is to perform phagocytosis, which is the eating and killing of invading organisms. So the fact that the turtle can't reach the pizza to eat it should help you remember that leukocyte adhesion deficiency is considered a problem with phagocytosis. Now these turtles would be able to get out of the sewer if they could just reach the manhole cover. Typically they do this by using grappling hooks which they throw upwards and hook to the surface so they can pull themselves up. Let's take a closer look. Unfortunately, the bad guys knew that the turtles relied on these grappling hooks, so they sent an invader to steal all of the hooks from this box. You can see that empty box with a label above it saying grappling hooks. And peering into that empty box is a distraught turtle who can't find a grappling hook. And you can see that invader hiding behind this wall. He's taking each grappling hook and cutting off the hook part and then tying it to a useless loofah, like the type of loofah that someone might use to scrub up in the shower. Anyways, loofah represents LFA, or rather LFA1, which is the integrin protein that's defective. Without LFA1, the neutrophils can't attach to the blood vessel walls and get into the tissues. So loofahs stands for LFA1, which is defective. If you look closely at that villain, you'll see he has an I voted sticker. Specifically, it says, I voted for Shredder, who's the boss of all these bad guys. I guess it was the villain's election day. Anyways, citizens of the United States are allowed to vote when they turn 18. So this I voted sticker represents CD18, which is another name for the LFA integrin protein. And the fact that the I voted sticker is on the bad guy who's replacing the hooks with loofahs should help you remember that CD18 is another name for the LFA1 integrin protein. Another one of the bad guys up here on the surface is taking a little break and eating a Reese's peanut butter cup. He's intentionally doing this in front of the turtle to add salt to the wound because the turtle can't reach the pizza, and he's definitely not going to reach that Reese's peanut butter cup. Anyways, we like to use Reese's to represent autosomal recessive diseases. Reese's recessive. So this should help you remember that leukocyte adhesion deficiency type 1 is an autosomal recessive condition. Unfortunately, the reporter friend of these mutant turtles is getting beaten up back here because the turtles can't seem to get out of the sewer. Let's zoom up to see the situation better. Just now, she was shoved into some nasty garbage in that alley. You can see all those nasty discarded hot dogs covered in little garbage appendages. We like to use hot dogs covered in things like this because it represents the appearance of many bacteria. These skin wounds represent skin infections. So together, these symbols represent the fact that patients with leukocyte adhesion deficiency can get bacterial infections of the skin. And one of the other assailants has a vicious dog. Look at all that mucus dripping from its mouth. He is ready to attack that poor reporter. This mucus represents the mucosa, which is to help remind you that bacterial infections can also occur in the mucosa in patients with leukocyte adhesion deficiency. One example of a mucosal infection is sinusitis. To help you remember this, we have the aggressive dog salivating just above all these old road signs that have been discarded by the city. And we like to use signs collected like this to represent sinusitis. More specifically, it's bacterial sinusitis that we're dealing with. Hopefully you can see how close those nasty old hot dogs are to this real dog and its mucus all over these signs to help you think that the sinusitis is bacterial. Now these bad guys were smart in a way. In order to prevent any other helpful people from getting in their way, they created a big barricade with cars. The result is this medic being prevented from reaching the reporter to heal her wounds. You can see this man dressed in scrubs and such. and he has the title medic on his back. This represents the fact that leukocyte adhesion deficiency causes impaired wound healing. Now, right now, the city is trying to quickly remove this blockade of cars, so they sent this tow truck to start pulling the cars and clear the path. As you can see, the tow truck is having a hard time pulling this first car, and that tow line is getting stretched to its little threads, but it's still unable to pull it away. This cord represents the umbilical cord of a newborn with leukocyte adhesion deficiency. In these infants, the umbilical cord stump doesn't fall off when it should, often requiring more than 30 days to fall off. So this tow line pulling the car but not quite able to move it represents delayed separation of the stump of the umbilical cord. And that should be all you need to know about leukocyte adhesion deficiency.